Hey guys, this is Jonathan Washburn, hashtag the Dean of Mortgages, coming at you. You've heard rates are super low, but should you refi? We'll find out next. Hey everybody, you've probably heard that interest rates are absurdly low right now. But does that mean that you should refinance just because you might be able to get a lower rate than what you currently have? Well, let's talk about everything that goes into a refinance to see if that is what you need to do with your home right now. First thing that you need to understand is that every single loan that you're going to do, even in a refinance, is going to have costs, all right? So for a refinance, first of all, you might have to pay for an appraisal. Sometimes we don't have to pay for an appraisal, sometimes we do. So you might have to pay $500, $600 maybe for an appraisal in order to refinance your home, just to make sure that you have a good amount of equity in your home. And it's also important to understand you could pay for an appraisal up front, and then that appraisal comes back at a lower value than what we might be expecting, and you might not actually be able to do a refinance after all, because you have to have enough equity in your house to be able to refinance it. So if you're going to refinance, just keep in mind you're going to have to pay for an appraisal, and it is possible that after paying for an appraisal, the deal might die, so you might be out $500 or $600 for no reason. Secondly, as with any loan, you're going to have closing costs on a refinance. So that means that you might have to pay some origination, you'll probably have to pay some title work, and you're going to have to set up your escrow account again. See the video below right here to see a little bit more detail on those closing costs. But because there are closing costs that come along with a refinance, most people on a refinance are actually going to see their loan amount increase. Why? Because most people are going to roll these closing costs into their new loan. So if you go into the refinance and you only owe $200,000 on your home, you might come out of the refinance having a loan of $205,000 or maybe even more, depending on how much the closing costs are for you. Now, obviously every single loan has its costs, but there may actually be benefits to a refinance that you weren't expecting. First of all, you're going to get at least 1 month off of your mortgage payment, and potentially even 2, depending on how your loan officer structures the deal. So if you're paying $1,000 a month for your mortgage, when you do a refinance, you might actually get $2,000 in savings right there, because you won't have to make a mortgage payment this month or next. Secondly, you're going to get an escrow refund check a couple weeks after you close. Now again, this isn't like more money that you get necessarily, because you had to pay into your escrow account for prepaids to set up your brand new escrow account in the refinance, but it's more or less a wash, right? You got to put money in for your escrow account, and then you get that money back out of your escrow account after the refinance is done. All right, so you know a refinance is going to cost you a little bit, but you also know that there are some pretty good benefits. Let's get to that all-important question: should I refi? Well, I want you to remember the 5-year principle. Generally in our industry, we follow the 5-year principle when it comes to refis, and this is what that means. If you have $5,000, let's say, in closing costs, but you're going to save $100 a month in your mortgage payment, how many months would it take you of your monthly savings in order to pay off those closing costs? Well, in this instance, it would take you 50 months, right? We had $5,000 in closing costs. We had $100 a month in savings. So if you're, that's going to take you 50 months to make back that savings. That's less than 5 years. That's a pretty good loan. So if it takes less than 5 years, it's a pretty good loan. If it takes less than like 3 years or even 2 years, it's a fantastic loan. Because the rates have fallen so precipitously here in the last year, I'm actually working with a friend right now that we're slashing his interest rate so much that he's actually going to make back all of the money that he's paying in the refinance in less than 16 months. And we're lowering his term. How crazy is that? Right? This doesn't happen very often in the mortgage industry, but when it does, it's a really great opportunity for you to reach out to see if you can save some money. There are a few other questions to ask yourself. The first question to ask is this: am I going backwards on my loan? Here's what I mean by that. Let's say you only owe 22 years left on your current mortgage, and when you refinance, your loan officer takes you all the way back to 30. your monthly payment is probably gonna drop pretty considerably, but you might be adding 8 more years of payments onto that loan. That may not be the best thing for you. All right, another thing to consider is this. If you're saving like at least 1 percentage point on your refinance, ask your loan officer about shortening your term. I'm working with a buddy right now that we are actually lowering his monthly payment and shortening his term from 29 years to 25 years at the same time, because that's how much lower interest rates are right now than when he purchased his home. So think about that. We're lowering his monthly payment by about $90 a month, and then we're also slashing 4 years off of his payment. This guy's gonna save over $110,000 over the life of the loan just because interest rates are so much lower right now than they were when he purchased. One more important thing to consider would be this. What are your plans for this home? What are your plans for your life here over the next few years? I had a friend reach out to me this morning. He said, hey John, I heard rates are really low. What should I do? And I asked him, hey man, what are your plans? And this guy's planning on moving like in the next 2 years. And so I told him, hey, you know, as much as I would love to refi you right now, as much as I would love to, get your business and give you a new loan, it honestly doesn't make all that much sense for you. We did the math. We were gonna be able to pay back his closing costs in about 20 months. But at that point, it's like, okay, so you're gonna do a refinance, gonna go through all this trouble to 20 months from now, break even on the deal, and then 4 months later, sell your house. It doesn't really make sense. So here's my big picture idea for you. Take this home with you. Rates are super low. It might make a lot of sense for you to do a refinance. But not everybody should do a refinance right now. Maybe you're not going to be in the home much longer. Maybe you already have a really good interest rate, and yeah, you could get a little bit lower, but when you compare the costs to the savings, it doesn't really make sense. Call me if you'd like me to give you an honest opinion. I will tell you straight to your face, hey, look, I don't think you should do this refinance. I'd be happy to do it, but I don't really think you should because you're already in a pretty good position. I'll also be happy to tell you if, wow, we can save you $100, $200, $300 a month and maybe even lower your term because some of the deals out there are really that good right now. All right? Follow me on YouTube, youtube.com/C/The Dean of Mortgages. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram, The Dean of Mortgages. Thank you so much for joining me for this session today. This is Jonathan Washburn, #The Dean of Mortgages. School is out.